hypnosis and tarot. Two things you might not think go together. But what if combining them could unlock, like, hidden parts of yourself? That's what we're diving into today.
It's interesting, right? You got these two practices kind of seen as mysterious, separate things.
Totally. And we're all curious, right? Like maybe you've tried meditation, maybe you've gotten your birth chart done, maybe you just want to understand yourself better. Well, we're going deep today. We're looking at empower your mind, body, and spirit with hypnosis and tarot.
Yeah, the author, Brian David Phillips, he's got this unique take on it all.
All right, so hypnosis. Most people, they hear that and they think, like, swinging watches, right? But it's actually way more, I don't know, relatable than that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's really about getting someone into the state where they're more open to suggestion. You ever drive home like on autopilot and suddenly you're like, wait, how'd I get here? Hypnosis is tapping into that same kind of focus so we can get past the surface, to those deeper thoughts and beliefs that, honestly, we might not even realize are running the show.
Totally. It's like when you get so into a movie, you forget everything else. You're just there.
Exactly. And that's what makes it such a useful tool. It's not just for, like, quitting smoking or whatever. People use it for that too, of course. We're talking stress, phobias, even sleep. So many possibilities.
Okay, so we've got this way to access the subconscious. But then we add tarot. And a lot of folks, they think fortune tellers, right?
Right. And while people have used it that way for ages, it's so much deeper than just telling the future. Tarot is more like a language, a symbolic one. It's got these archetypes, these images that reflect what's going on inside us. 78 cards, each with its own meaning. The major arcana, those are like the big life themes. And then the minor arcana, those are more everyday stuff.
And the pictures on the cards are so vivid. It's like another layer to figure out. Like the Fool is not just about being foolish, right? It can mean new beginnings, taking a chance.
Exactly. And just to make it even more interesting, Brian actually uses decks with 100 cards, which is pretty unusual. It goes back to his whole thing about bringing in those esoteric traditions.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. But before we go too far, can we touch on the history a bit? Tarot's been around forever, right?
Yep. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Think 15th century Italy. Back then, they were using these fancy decks, but not really for fortune telling, more like games, social things. The way it's evolved is fascinating, but that's a whole other deep dive. What's really cool is how these two paths cross, right? Hypnosis, getting into your subconscious, and tarot with all its symbolism.
Okay, so we've got hypnosis, this way to kind of slip past the guards and get to that deeper part of ourselves. And then there's tarot with all those symbols, and they can speak to that subconscious part too. But like, why put them together? What happens when you do that?
Yeah, that's the really cool part. Okay, imagine this. Hypnosis is like having the key to this hidden room inside you, but it's dark, right? You're stumbling around. Tarot, those cards, those symbols, they're your flashlight. They light up what's there, all those thoughts and feelings that come up when you're in that hypnotic state where you're so open.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So it's not that the cards themselves are like predicting the future.
Yeah.
But they're more like prompts or something, helping you to understand what your subconscious is already saying, but in a way that, actually makes sense to your conscious mind.
Exactly. Even just picking a card, looking at the picture, and thinking about your own life, even symbolically, it builds this bridge between that subconscious part and the part you're aware of all the time.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a little like, how dreams use symbols? Tarot's kind of like that, giving you a way to decode those symbols and understand what they mean.
I like that, the dream analogy. And what's really powerful here is that it's not just heady intellectual stuff. Brian talks about the benefits in the book. More self-awareness, emotional healing.
Yeah, who couldn't use a bit more of that, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to think we've got ourselves figured out, but there's always more to learn.
Always. Think of it this way. Say you're stuck in a pattern. Maybe you sabotage yourself, or you're scared of commitment. This hypnosis tarot combo, it's like shining a spotlight on the root of that, the cause that's been hidden in your subconscious. And when you see it, when you're actually aware of it, that's when you can break free.
So it's not just about knowing yourself better. It's about using that knowledge to, actually change your life.
Exactly. Imagine holding on to old pain and it's messing with your relationships now. Hypnosis can help you get to those buried emotions, and then you use the cards to sort of guide you. You can understand those feelings in a totally new way, and that's where real change comes in.
Okay, this is all fascinating and everything, but I bet you know what I'm thinking, because I'm thinking it. How do we actually use this? It can't just be theory, right? Give us the steps.
You're right. Got to have that practical side. And Brian does give some pointers in his book. He says, start with the basics, get familiar with both hypnosis and tarot on their own.
I mean, there's so much out there now. Books, online courses, apps. Even just finding a deck that speaks to you is a good start, I think.
Absolutely. And if you want to work with someone like a professional, he's big on finding a certified hypnotherapist who also wears tarot. You might have to do some digging, depending on where you live, but it's worth it to find the right fit.
Oh, and I love that he mentions workshops, retreats, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Spending a whole weekend, really going deep with a group, that could be amazing.
He even mentions doing a lot of work adapting esoteric stuff for hypnotic techniques, and there's a link to a podcast he did on it. He's really into making this stuff relatable and useful for people today.
Even if someone's not like booking a past life regression tomorrow or, doing a whole tarot spread every day,
Sure, sure.
there's something to be said for just like paying attention to that little voice, that subconscious part of us.
Absolutely, and that's what's so cool about this whole approach, right? It's like it makes you more aware of, well, more than just your thoughts, Those feelings, those little nudges we usually ignore.
Totally. It's like
Yeah.
suddenly those thoughts that pop up or a dream that keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Even those gut feelings that you can't explain.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not so random after all. Like our subconscious is trying to get our attention.
Exactly. And what Brian's saying is we don't need to be scared of those messages. They're there to help us, to guide us. It's like whether you're using hypnosis and tarot formally or just like trying to be more in tune with yourself, it's about being open to the journey,
Mhm.
that self-discovery.
It's like he says in the book, and I love this line, trust in the process and allow yourself to be guided by your subconscious mind and enjoy the journey of self-discovery and personal growth. Honestly, I think that's the perfect place to leave it.
I agree. It's a journey, and there's always something new to learn.
So, for everyone listening, if you want to explore this whole world, hypnosis, tarot, all the amazing things our subconscious minds can do, we've got links for you. Brian David Phillips' website, his books, even those unique tarot decks we talked about. Check out the show notes.
And hey, maybe today, just take a second and listen to that inner voice. See what it has to say. You might be surprised.
And that is a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring.
Breathe deep, close your eyes, and surrender to the cards. Let the rhythm of the symbols take you far. In the dance of the arcana, see your story start to bloom. Every flip, every turn, it's like magic in the room. Tarot trance, feel the vibe, let your spirit take a ride.